My first guest is often controversial. He's always interesting. For years, he was known as the voice of Monday Night Football. His best-selling autobiography, which I read in hardcover, I Never Played the Game, is now out for all you cheapies in paperback. Will you please welcome Mr. Howard Cosell? I hope you keep writing books, because every time you write a book, you come on hardcover and then softcover. It's great.
Why not? It's not a bad racket.
It's a great racket. Are you going to write another one, do you think?
I probably will before it's all over.
Because everybody wants to know your opinions on, when I said you come on any kind of sports, like Super Bowl game now. They said, what are the comments? What are his predictions on the Super Bowl?
The predictions on the Super Bowl are very simple. The New Jersey Giants will win easily and overwhelmingly. There seems to be a problem with some recalcitrants from the Denver area. But that's their problem, isn't it?
What do you miss most now that you're retired?
First, I'm not retired, and second, I don't miss a single darn thing. I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
But what about, like, commentating on boxing and things like that?
I gave up boxing Thanksgiving Day weekend of 1982. I had enough of that garbage.
Why? Was there one specific thing?
Well, there was a sequence of events at that point in time that I carefully delineated to your husband Edgar inside earlier on. Told him exactly what was wrong with it.
You want to tell me, or should I just ask Edgar tonight?
If you ask Edgar tonight, it will be the last time you'll ever see him again. I've told Edgar the truth. I just signed your book. You're running away with me.
Okay. Is there a Mrs. C that's going to be upset?
Only for 43 years. But in answer to your question, there were a sequence of events. First of all, a man who shouldn't have been allowed to fight his opponent was killed, Duck Koo Kim, by Boom Boom Mancini. Subsequent to that, a boy who was very dear to me, Alexis Arguello, was almost killed, lay prostrate for 3 minutes on the canvas when knocked out by a man named Pryor at a time when, in my opinion, Alexis Arguello should no longer be fighting. Subsequent to that, I had to call a fight, and I made up my mind during that fight, because it wasn't a fight, it was a mugging, that I had had quite enough. I had spent long years of my life testifying before various committees in the House and the Senate about boxing. I could never change it. The 3 networks want it. Cable wants it, and the sports writers quite obviously want it. And confronted by that unholy alliance, I made my decision that I didn't want any part of it, and I'm proud of it. I think it's a terrible thing, what goes on in boxing in America.
But if the men are willing to do it, now there's a fight coming up with Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard, right?
Apparently. Shouldn't be licensed.
And isn't it true that Sugar Ray could lose the sight of an eye?
In my opinion, it is. In the opinion of some of the major ophthalmological surgeons in America, there is a very real possibility, and I think it's a ghastly thing, and I don't think that the fight should be licensed. It would not be licensed in the state of New York. I love Sugar Ray Leonard. I was part and parcel of his career. I've discussed it with him very fully. He knows exactly how I feel. Some doctors say, including his own, which I don't understand, that the eye is stronger than ever after retinal detachment surgery. I personally, based upon my research, do not believe it to be true. A dear friend of mine, your audience probably doesn't even know this, named Michael Burke, once the president of the New York Yankees, then the president of the Madison Square Garden in New York, moved to Ireland, became an Irish citizen, was riding his horse. He had had retinal detachment surgery. I recently got a letter from him. They had told him his eye was stronger than ever. And he said very simply, Howard, I took a tumble on my horse. The letter came from Dublin, and I've lost the sight of my right eye. I just think it's a terrible thing There are apparently people who don't think so. It's a free country, but I'm concerned with responsibility.
But don't you think if they made boxing illegal, it would just go underground and would still continue?
Oh, that's garbage written by sports writers who love to propagandize what they want. That is pure and simple garbage. Where are they going to fight? In caves? When a thing's illegal, you're well on the way to getting rid of it forever.
All right, now we have to do a commercial, and then we want to go back and talk to you about Ali and a whole other thing, okay? But first, a word. I'm so thrilled. From my newest sponsor, the National Enquirer at last. I die happy. Read the National Enquirer. Yes, America. Read about you at your best. We'll be right back, maybe. I don't care. Cosell from I Never Played the Game. How did you feel when, because you were very close friends with Muhammad Ali when he retired? Was it
I sure
big moment for you?
He'll always be a significant part of my life. I'll always care about him. I think it's terrible what happened to him, and it just embellishes and strengthens my feelings about boxing that I've already described to you and to the audience.
What about Mike Tyson? He was on this show. I thought he was wonderful. Do you think he's going to go really be what he looks like he's going to be?
What's that?
A major figure in boxing history.
I don't think that's very hard. There's none of them around can fight a lick. This kid can at least punch, so he has no one to beat. Second point, I had him when he fought in the finals of the Olympic trials in what we call the Olympic box-off to finally determine the American Olympic team. Both times he was defeated by a man named Henry Tillman, who married a woman that I desperately loved named Gina Hemphill, who was part of the flag-bearing ceremony at the Olympics. Henry Tillman beat him twice simply by using the ring, constant movement, we call it lateral movement, and using the left jab effectively. How effectively Tyson will be able to fight, if and when he fights such a fighter, remains to be seen. A fighter in his own weight classification, which Tillman no longer is. So I'm not prepared to say that he is a great fighter, not at this point. But he's a fine lad. I like him very much. He was there at the Olympics every day, even though he hadn't made the team. And he's clean, and he's got people managing him who are clean and who care about him. So I wish him all the luck in the world.
Are most of them clean? There was that big scandal with the college football boys now with the steroids. Do you think that's still a lot in sports?
Oh, my goodness.
Even though they claim they're cleaning it up now and they're doing the urine tests and all.
Sports are cluttered with scandals and drugs, but there's nothing new about that. And these people just want to hear about the game. Let them hear about the game.
Who do you think, going into all aspects of sports, any sport, are the three, would you say, three best athletes that you ever saw perform?
A man named Henry Aaron answered that question at a press conference with me yesterday at my All-America College Golf Tournament, which we just concluded at Palm Springs. I came over here from Palm Springs. And he said that, in his opinion, the best baseball player he ever saw was Willie Mays, who was there. A lot of people might disagree. He said the most exciting player he ever saw was Jackie Robinson. I think that the most important, I view it differently. The most important athlete who has ever lived is Jackie Robinson. That's item one, obviously, because he heralded the change in the democratization of sports in America. I think Muhammad Ali was the greatest fighter I ever saw in that particular field. The greatest all-around athlete I have ever seen. Again, there are so many different kinds of achievements. Maybe it was what Bob Beamon did when he jumped further in 1968 at Mexico City than man has ever jumped since, or maybe never will again. Or maybe it was Bill Toomey with a stunning victory in the decathlon. You see, you can't gradate athletes quite as simply as you ask me to.
You're fascinating, you know that.
If I'm not, you've got a hell of a scoop. with the guts to tell it like it really is. Paul Anka didn't write the song for Sinatra. He wrote it for me. Only Frank could sing it better.
My way, right?
Exactly.
Can you do a little bit of it for us?
If I did, honey, you'd be canceled tonight.
Let me ask you, the NFL, they keep moving sports franchises from one city to another city.
That's what that book's all about.
That's what your book is all about. That's why I'm trying to get back to your book.
That's why I call them the New Jersey Giants, which they are. That's where they pay their taxes. Before I'm done with the National Football League, they'll go back to calling the Dodgers the Brooklyn Dodgers. And I was with Don Drysdale and Duke Snyder today in my tournament. And they'll call the San Francisco Giants the New York Giants. We've got to go back to those names because we now have a country whereby the executive fiat of Commissioner Pete Rozelle of the National Football League, we determine not just the state of our nation, but the number of states in our nation. New Jersey, quite obviously, is not a state. New Jersey is New York. In terms of television markets, it is. But isn't that absurd? 2 teams evacuated the greatest city in the world.
But didn't they do it because they just weren't getting enough people coming to see them?
They did it because there was more money in it. Now, that's much too complicated to go into, but it was a clear defiance of the public interest, which this book clearly depicted. They can't change it. They will never change it. And their parade should be in New Jersey. And I think they're a great football team. I admire their coach enormously. I admire their players enormously. I give them all the credit in the world for their football achievements. And I've already said I think they'll win the Super Bowl easily. But Senators Bradley and Lautenberg are great senators, and Tom Kean is a fine governor, and they've got a lot of pride in that state. And I also think they're the Anaheim Rams. They belong where they are, in a city built by a mouse called Mickey. That's telling it right there.
I know you have to leave. Will you come back again and talk another time?
Joni, I don't give a damn who knows or what happens, baby. It's just you and me.
You got it.
Sorry about that, Edgar.